very happy that you decided to stop by today and get this checked out. We did find something in your vocal folds which are a part of your larynx, and it is nothing to worry about, but we will give you a brief overview of the structure of the larynx and what goes on in there. To start off, the larynx is also known as the voice box, and it is located in the anterior neck. So this is what we would see if we were looking at someone's throat from the front. If we turn it around, we would see the posterior view, which is in the back of the larynx and is located in the back of the neck. The larynx is superior to the trachea, and trachea tube comes from our lungs, but it is inferior to the pharynx, also known as our throat. So very briefly, it is our pharynx, our larynx, our trachea tube, and our lungs. The larynx is mostly comprised of muscles and cartilage, specifically 3 main cartilages. But first, we'll start with the epiglottis, which is the most superior compared to the rest of the larynx parts, and its main function is to prevent food and liquid from entering the trachea. The larynx has 3 main cartilages. The thyroid cartilage in purple, which is the biggest cartilage in the larynx, and forms most of the anterior and lateral, which means away from the midline of the larynx. As we can see, it is superior to the cricoid cartilage, which is our second main cartilage, and we will discuss in a couple of seconds. This cartilage, the thyroid cartilage, is composed of superior horns, which can also be thought of as the top horns, and the bottom horns, which are known as inferior horns. Now, the second main cartilage is which is the cricoid cartilage, and is in red, has its lateral sides, which means away from the midline part of body, attached to the inferior horns, also known as the bottom horns of the thyroid cartilage. It is the most inferior, or the most lowest part of the entire larynx. And as we can see, the anterior part or front part of the cricoid cartilage is narrow, which we call the anterior arc, compared to the cricoid lamina, which is thicker and found in the posterior part or back part of the cricoid cartilage. Now, the third main cartilage can only be seen from the posterior point of view or the back view, and it sits on the cricoid lamina of the cricoid cartilage. They are known as the arytenoid cartilages. They are in yellow, and they are 2 pyramidal shaped cartilages. Lastly, the strings are immediately found connecting the arytenoid cartilages to the thyroid cartilage and represent the vocal ligaments in the vocal folds. Now, in the larynx, there is a theory referred to as a myoelastic theory, which explains how the vocal folds will vibrate to produce sound. I will be showing the posterior part of the 3D larynx model, as this is where the vocal folds can be seen in action, and to discuss the cycle that occurs during this theory. When we are getting ready to phonate and begin this cycle, the arytenoid cartilages are adducted, which means to be brought together, which I tend to remember its definition because it has the word add in there. And when we add 2 numbers together, we are combining them, right? This ends up closing the glottis, the space between our vocal folds. This allows for subglottal pressure to build up, which creates a difference in pressure from above the glottis compared to underneath it. Then, when a good amount of subglottal pressure has been built up beneath the glottis, it will cause the vocal folds to vibrate and be abducted, which means to pull apart. Now, this allows for the pressure to be released, and our vocal folds reach maximum displacement as air pulls them far apart. This can be referred to as a point of constriction. Now, because of the vocal folds elasticity and Bernoulli's principles, which is when the velocity exceeds the pressure inside of the larynx and therefore leaves negative pressure between the glottis, it leads to the vocal folds to adduct the vocal folds again, bringing them back together, and the whole cycle then begins to repeat itself. So now that we have learned about the larynx, I did want to say that what I found in your larynx is a nodule, specifically in your vocal folds. A nodule typically shows up in individuals who overuse or misuse their voice. And because of your profession as a salesperson, the overusage of your voice is most likely the cause of it. A big indicator that you're also having a nodule in your throat is that if you rest your voice, it gets better. But if you use your voice again, it starts becoming hoarse, which you had mentioned is what happens by the end of your day. So there are different ways of treating it. We can start off by using our voice wisely. We can restrict the amount of talking you do outside of your work so that your vocal folds are well rested for the next day. Also, it is important not to cradle your phone between your shoulder and your ear. This puts our vocal folds in less than an ideal position in order to talk. So if we do this for a very long period of time, we can cause damage to our larynx. We can also stay hydrated. We can do this by drinking lots of water, minimizing the amount of caffeine we intake, and not taking medications that are drying to our vocal folds. And in other ways, possibly by buying 1 or 2 humidifiers, one for your office and another for your home to keep your vocal folds moistened. We can also make sure you're just getting well rested and are avoiding spicy foods and not smoking. By doing all of these, your voice should get better. But if not, feel free to come back and we can talk about other steps that we can take. Overall, though, if you have any other questions, let me know. And if not, I hope you have a great rest of your day.